Hello, and welcome to How I Did It, the video series where I sit down in front of a microphone and I tell you how I did things. We're going to be looking at Dishelfled, which is a game I just put out. It is a educational introduction to visual novels game intended for like new developers or new players or whatever, what have you. The code is completely and totally open. You can go in and you can like search through it. I'm putting up my PSDs. I just want to kind of clean them up a little bit, make it a little more organized because I work like a frenzied animal. The cool part though is it has a behind the scenes feature. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I implemented and the struggles I ran into implementing the behind the scenes feature. Because it's not really explained a lot in game. But before I do that, I'm going to shill just a little bit. I started a Pixels and Pins Patreon. The idea is to sort of get the funds to like make more games in the future and pay the actors I want to hire for said games in the future. That's pretty much where all that money would go. None of these like videos or articles or any kind of educational thing I do in the future is ever going to be behind any kind of paywall. But I do have some tiers of like behind the scenes stuff and dev blogs and one-on-one things. So if that's something you're interested in for as little as $1 a month, you can really help me out. If you're more of like a one-off donation kind of person, I have a coffee as well. It's all going to be linked in the description. Okay, now that that's done, we're out of the way. But hey, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So how does this behind the scenes feature work? So we go through this bullshit. It's fine. I'll show you on the character customization screen. So if you look on the character customization screen, click the behind the scenes. Whoa! This is the character customization screen. It uses something called a layered image. It smooshes stuff. Blah, 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 blah. You close it. Oh, look, the little flashers go away. Because what those flashers do, those are your new tip icons. So as you're going through the game, oh, look, flashers are on. What's the new tip? I don't know. Oh, I click on it. Oh, man, new tip. Close. Flashers go away. So that's how it works. That's how it functions. So how I knew I wanted to do it initially is like, so I definitely knew, this is how I mock stuff up and just in Photoshop with my mouse, it's great. So I knew I wanted to do it where it was like, okay, so here's the game happening. Okay, there's a button and then you click the button and oh, look, a tip screen comes up. But I was thinking, oh, it could like slide up maybe or something. I don't know. I wasn't really sure. You click the button, it would go away. And so I knew that those were all the component parts were going to be. It was going to need to be a button and a screen. And I knew how to combine those to make it work. It was just a matter of what worked most efficiently. So I started with the button. I knew that this was going to be the easiest part. So I started with the button. And initially, I had it set up to where the button was just this one screen on top of all the other screens. Really quickly, I realized that didn't work because it would be there when the quick menu wasn't there, or it would be there in places I didn't want it to be there. And I was like, this is really frustrating. How do I get it to show up when the quick menu's there, when not show up when the quick menu's not there? I wanted to look, oh, okay, I'll just attach it to the quick menu. That was the quickest, aha moment of, oh, I'll just attach it to the quick menu. I'm already playing around with the quick menu. It's fine. So if you go to my quick menu screen, you can see here's the grid I already did for this part of the quick menu. That was easy. That was already done. I'd already played with that and made that happen. So this is the button right here, image button, auto, GUI, behind the scenes, whatever. And then this action would end up being the final, but this changed a little bit depending on how I went through things. But that was super easy. I attached it to the quick menu, so it shows up when the quick menu's there and it goes away when the quick menu's not there, and is easy to work with. That was a super easy fix. Everything is great. X alignment, Y alignment's where it needs to be. Don't do this. I do this because I'm stupid. Find a better way to do that. Okay. That was super easy. Put the behind the scenes in the quick menu. That way it only shows up when the quick menu's there. You can make it orient to the quick menu. You can make it work with the quick menu. Super awesome, cool, fun time, great. Easy fix. The not so easy fix was this bad boy, the new image flash, the new tip flash. Initially, it was just going to be like a screen burst that went like across the screen. And so anytime a new tip showed, I would just do show new tip flash or show tip flash, or whatever the heck I called it at the time. It was going to be show tip flash. The instant I moved the indicators down to above the menu screens, however, images don't show the same way on the different layers. So the show image doesn't have it was showing below the transient layer, which is where these guys live. This is where all these guys live, not transient. Whatever layer these guys live on. Show image shows below that. So I was like, okay, well, I still want to show image. What am I going to do? Well, okay, I attached the behind the scenes button to the quick menu. I'll just attach the tip flash to the quick menu as well. And it worked, sort of, at first. What I did is I just developed a little image. It's right here. It was just tip flash. ¿Dónde está? Tip flash right here. It was just like the two little diamonds and it went no big deal. And then my plan was, okay, I'll put it in the quick menu next to the, where did you go, quick menu? I'll put it in the quick menu next to the behind the scenes button that I already had. And I was like, okay, so now that I have the image there, how do I make the image show up only when I want a new tip? I was like, okay, you know what I'll do is I will use augments to the quick menu. I will put in a code. I will make a new little code, and it'll be something along the lines of, if new tip equal true, then it'll have, you'll have like OH box tip flash whatever alignment. Here was the problem. Quick menu doesn't update as the game progresses. So initially I was like, oh, okay, I'll just have a variable that's like, oh, new tip equal false, and then I'll just change it to true when I have a new tip. And it worked when I was reloading the game. But because quick menu doesn't check itself as the game progresses, it wouldn't be running this if statement. It wouldn't know that if statement was there because it displays once, it takes the first variable it gets, and then it goes from there. So it was working, like, theoretically, like, the variables were updating, all that kind of good stuff, but because quick menu wasn't rechecking itself, the if statement wasn't running, it didn't know it needed to display a new flasher. So what do? I don't freaking know at this point. I was like, well, okay, I guess I need to move away from it being an image and go ahead and just make it a screen. So that's what I did. I went ahead and just made a screen new tip. Here it's Z order, H box align, spacing, blah, blah, add to the tip flash. I changed what tip flash was. I changed it from being like 1 diamond to 2 diamonds or whatever. And then every time I just needed a new tip to show, I would just do show screen tip flash. I keep going to the wrong file. I would just do show screen new tip. I was going to have to change the variable each time anyway. It doesn't really affect the actual workflow I ended up having. I just had to be a little more careful about was the screen showing, make sure I hide it by itself. It wasn't going to be attached to the quick menu like I wanted it to be, so I had to just be aware of all those factors. Because now I needed to determine how I wanted to get rid of the new flash, the tip flash, when the tip was looked at. And I debated for a long time. I was like, okay, well, I guess I could just go in and I could do hide screen new tip after 3 lines or something. I was like, well, what if they don't see it after those first 3 lines? They want to go back and look at it. Or, what if they miss it? Or I don't want to have to do that for every single new tip. Thus, the solution was born that I would go into I should probably pull up the correct one. This is the behind the scenes screen. How do I get rid of new tip once the new tip has been looked at? Wow, that's not correct. Go away, friendo. Stop. And that lies in the new tip screen itself, which we'll go over in just a moment. The new tip screen itself includes this handy little guy that is the text button. It closes the screen. Then when in the same action where it closes its own screen, it also hides the new tip screen. Which is why changing it to a screen ended up being much more effective anyway, because I wouldn't have been able to do that with an image. It wouldn't have worked. But screen totally can. So what happens is you're playing the game, new tip shows up because I did the line show new tip. I did the line show new tip, click behind the scenes, click close, that hides the behind the scenes screen, and hides the new tip screen. I just built it into the close button on the behind the scenes screen. It worked really great. I love it. It's perfect. It's exactly what I wanted to happen. I felt like such an idiot once I figured it out because it seemed so obvious. I was like, oh, this makes sense. Okay, now how do I get the behind the scenes tips to change? This was super duper difficult, honestly. I went through a lot of issues trying to figure this out. I was trying to do screen arguments. Oh, and here's the actual screen. Here's behind the screen button. I had an extra one just sitting there in case I need to use it. I tried to do screen arguments. It kept returning errors, and I couldn't figure out why I was returning errors. I still want to kind of go back through it and massage it a little bit more and do something a little bit different because I feel like this is a little bit clunky. It works, but it's clunky. And all I did was every single time I wanted to change the tip number, I just changed the tip ID number. So you'll see these scattered. If you go through the code, and like you look at the code and the raw code, you'll see these throughout. That's just the changing the tip ID and showing screen new tip. Cool beans. That's all that is. And then I initially had it where it was like, oh, it would iterate every time, +1, +1. But I was like, that could run the risk of being weird. So I went ahead and just assigned them numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I came up with a code. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 1 versus 9, 2 with the scene splits. And these are the different like endings right through here. And basically just if tip ID equals this number, this is what the tip looks like. And as I said, it's not great. It's a little clunky. I kind of want to go in and massage it some more, play with it, make it a little more structured, but it works. And sometimes that's what you just have to do when you're up against a deadline. So what happens is the game checks, okay, tip ID is 2, show screen new tip, okay, here flashes new tip. It populates tip ID with the number 2. That way when you click on the screen, it takes you to screen behind the scenes. This is what shows. So if you've never used an if statement in a VBox, this is how you do it. It works. It's a thing. It works. So yeah, and so if I want to add more tips, I have to figure out a better tip structure, which is why I kind of want to massage it a little bit, because I might be adding more tips as more people are like, how did you do this part? Which, by the way, go play the game if you see a part and you're like, how did they do that? How did she do that? She's a wizard. I'll be like, I'll show you. I'll add a tip there. I definitely want to get a list of those. I also want to go over in more detail some of the other deeper programmatic parts once I kind of play with their programming a little bit more too. But that is how the behind the scenes tip button worked and how that system works. And I'm going over a little more detail because I'm definitely going to be using the system for something in the future. I definitely want to use it for like maybe an in-game tip system of like, oh, this is a dictionary system or a glossary system or something. Now that I have it kind of sort of figured out and how I can use it. And hopefully that's something you can kind of use too. I will probably share all this code somehow. I don't know. I got to figure that part out. But yeah, that is the quick and dirty version of how I implemented the behind the scenes feature in Dishelfled. This is how I did it. Make sure you can go download on itch.io. You can find it on the site. Investigate Patreon if you're interested in it. It's all going to be down in the description box. And I can't wait to see you again soon.